Okay, and continuing, something I did from the cleaned up PNG sketch that I brought into Illustrator and had started tracing over. Between the last tutorial and this tutorial, I printed it out and I made some additions. I just sketched with pencil on top of it and then filled it in with marker. And then I scanned that. And this is kind of the texture I'm going for, a wood block kind of texture. And there's a few ways I could go about it, and I'll get into that. But why I really did this marker test is to see which shapes are there, which are black, which are white. Actually, I want that to be filled in white, so there's still little things I need to do. And how much detail do I need? And basically, what is the plan moving forward? So I'm going to keep this open in preview just so I can refer to it. And I might even bring it in to Illustrator. And the way I might do that is just select this from preview. You can do this right from preview. Command-C, copy, or edit copy. And then right within preview, you don't have to go into Photoshop for this, you can say File, New from Clipboard, and it will make a new file based on what you copied. So this I will export it as my logo test sketch. And usually I'll call these a marker test or a fill test because it's just black on white, and a PNG is fine. To the desktop. Then I don't need these anymore. Okay. But little additions that I added a few more crests to his head. I detached the tongue instead of having it jut right out of the tongue. I decided I wanted the needles to be filled in white, the wings to be filled in black, the helmet to be white. I decided to cut off this bottom part of the helmet and kind of fill in that space with a little bit of an oak leaf. I refined the acorn element here as well as here. I added a key to the bottom that the butterfly is lifting. A key is a symbol of learning and wisdom, and also unlocking the gates of heaven. And on and on. And I added this kind of piping element. If something in your logo feels too heavy to support the rest, since there's all this kind of fine line work, this piping inside the wings helps break up that really strong black shape. I added a little piping there in the head as well. So a lot of things can change if you just take the time to think about them and to make everything more unified. So now if I open up my Illustrator file that I was working on, and it's an AI file, and I should just need to double click it, and it will open in Illustrator. And I'm going to use my tablet and stylus. One thing I can do is I can actually bring my new sketch in underneath as something new to trace. So this is what I have so far, very clean and very symmetrical. And I think just because this is not quite our illustration project yet, but a logo design project, even though this is what I want, and I'll show you a way I can get this effect in Illustrator as a vector, this is what I'm going to continue to show you. How to build elements slowly. So I'm going to inform myself with this. I'll keep it open in preview just off to the side. If ever I want to check in with it, I'll put it at the bottom corner, and I'll just move the Illustrator window a little bit so that I can access this anytime I want to check myself. But let's continue working with this. So where I left off, you see I have all my locked layers here. I was working on these pins, and they were strokes. let's see, they still are strokes. So let me make sure of that. Yes, indeed. So you see that they're strokes because, oh, I have a guide as one of them. Just select this. They're a black stroke at 0.8 or 0.8 point. They're drawn with a 5-point oval. And the only problem with keeping them as a stroke is if, as I look at my design, I see that I want the needle to pass underneath the lip of this helmet. If I need to break them, which I do need to do, I would use the eraser and I would cut them. But the problem is, with a stroke, it's always going to completely surround the path. So strokes are automatically generated and not as controllable as paths. And I could work really hard to erase it just right so that it didn't intersect with the path there. But all of that's kind of difficult. So I'm going to show you now how you can convert your strokes into paths. So basically right now the only anchors are inside, and then it does an equal amount of black outline on each side of the anchor. But what I want it to do is to actually trace the outside edges of the anchor. So it's more like these lines up here. Which have anchors on the edges of them. So you can draw the inside edge separate from the outside edge. And I really like paths a whole lot more, filled paths a whole lot more than strokes. So what do? You select it, and then you go up to Object, and you go up to Path, or down to Path. So Object, you've selected your stroke, you go to Object, you go to Path, and you'll see the option to outline stroke. And whenever Illustrator asks you to outline something, it means take what you see visually and draw vector paths around it. All right, so now I've outlined these strokes. And notice they are no longer strokes. The stroke field is empty, and instead I have a black fill. Why is that a good thing? Well, because now I can very easily go in with my eraser and cut them anywhere underneath that line. If I need my eraser to be smaller, I double click and I can set it to be quite small. Even 1 point small, it's a little too small. Man, this is going to be precise. I'll do 1. I wonder if you can do decimals. There you go. Now by cutting it like that, and by cutting it here at the bottom, you see how it's containing those paths, but not filling in a line in between them because they're no longer strokes. Then I can just select those individual paths with the small selection tool and delete them. Same thing here. I have the wing intersecting with the needle. I just need to find those, unlock them, select them, and I can simply erase that out. Oh, that's what I can do. I can use the eraser with a pressure sensitivity. So let me try that. Oh, that's beautiful. That's going to be nice later. Like the blob brush. Now this is the kind of thing you have to be careful of. Little openings you don't want. You want to make sure they overlap fully. So you get clean positive and negative shapes. All right, I see another little area there with this. So I'm locking and unlocking as I go. Can use the eraser, just smooth that. My pressure sensitive eraser, just so slightly, and then use the smooth tool under the pencil tool. To even it out. Very nice. From my sketch, I put a little highlight kind of piping in there, a black shape, so let me draw that in. And I've been very happy with the blob brush, but I'm going to do this on a new layer. So lock everything below. Well, I see I need to fix the eagle as well. Oh, that's why I had that. Ah, that's frustrating. So I can go Command Z as far back as I like. And the reason I have that jog is because the eagle hooks into it. So that's fine, I'll leave that. All right, so now this piping. I use the blob brush. I paint, I do my best to make it smooth. It will smooth it out largely for me, because when you double click on it, you can set how smooth you want it to be, which just lessens the number of anchors it has. And then I can use my eraser and I can trim it and smooth it. See if the eraser allows you. Yeah, the one thing the eraser doesn't allow you to do is to smooth itself. So now I'll use the smooth tool and I'll kind of round it out. That looks pretty good. The nice thing about having it as an Illustrator path is I can just move it as well if I want it a little bit higher or lower. So that works. And then something for my sketch, I like going a little bit thicker here. So with this same blob brush, I'm going to thicken this piping there and then connect them. And remember, what I love about the blob brush is it makes it all one unified path. But that doesn't mean that it's going to unify with this, because that's on another layer that's locked. So I'm going to take the pencil tool, and I'm just going to redraw just that edge till it connects. And I'm going to redraw this until it tapers nicely. So it's all one. Yep, that works. Bless you. Okay, getting back to these needles and clearing their way. So a lot of you are just filling things in with white when you need to cover something up, but that's not a great idea because you want this to be just a one color solution. And so we'll work on ways you can fix that later, but instead of just filling my needles in with white and putting them above this, I need to erase those edges of the bottom of this brim. First, it's on this layer. So I'll just use my eraser tool, erase that out, and then it's on this layer. And we're doing great. All right. Next, the piping on the eagle's head and the detached tongue. Remember, you can always do Command Z to undo, and then redo is Shift Command Z. So I'm going to lock that, make a new layer. Actually, no, I'm going to affect the eagle's head layer because I'm erasing out now, cutting a hole into it.